Okay, so something I haven't talked about yet for this series is poetry. And since I want to talk about poetry, I want to talk about E. Cummings, and I want to review his complete poems. Granted, I'm not going to go into each and every little poem in the book. He wrote far too many for that. The volume I have collects everything he's ever published in his lifetime, and collects several books of poems that he published when he was alive. But more, I'm just going to talk about just my general opinion on him. Cummings is one of my favorite poets. I connected with him at a very early age. I remember reading his stuff in elementary school and just being struck by his use of language and his playfulness, his energy. It was so alive, it was so vivacious, so outrageous. It was crazy. It was beautiful. It was sad. It was happy. It was all of these things, and these things are still like that now. I still get these impressions. I still feel the energy running through his poems. He's one of my all-time favorites, and while he's not influential to me as a writer, I think the spirit of what he talks about is alive in not only my work, but in other writers. He's so good. I was inspired to read his work again when I read the biography, E. Cummings Alive, that I did a video on, and rereading it and buying this volume, which, while pricey, is definitely worth the money. He changed poetry. He was one of those big influential figures, and it's the truly passionate artists that make new trends and change history, that create the avant-garde and inspire other people, and inspire and influence generations to come. I mean, his use of language was without precedent. It was so bold and original. He had his own unique vision. He expressed himself in his own unique way. I mean, it's people like Emily Dickinson, E. Cummings, Allen Ginsberg. It's people like those people like Walt Whitman or Edgar Allan Poe, who create such original work that is influenced and I wouldn't say copied, but its spirit is carried on through other innovators and who create other people. Formulates other people's worldviews and causes them to kind of find their own path. For people who just think Cummings wrote nonsensical trash, that it's just as if a monkey had access to a typewriter, completely missing his point. They're completely missing what he's trying to accomplish. And they're not reading into it. They're not reading... They're taking everything at face value and are not opening themselves up to a different experience or a different interpretation, and that's sad. And I don't know, it's the thing I like about Cummings is when you approach his stuff, he turns convention on its head. Hell, he throws convention out the window. He is simultaneously one of the most complex and rawest and simplest writers I've ever read. He expresses so much, and while seemingly random, his usage of capitalization and non-capitalized words and the syntax and the typography all mean something. He's using these tools to express himself further than just writing a poem in a traditional set. And Cummings actually did write traditional styles as well. Most people don't realize this. But his more avant-garde experimental stuff is all saying something. He's using these things to convey, a meaning beyond the surface level of what his words are saying. And taken as a whole, both what he's saying and the way it's arranged on the page is masterful. He's a masterful writer, and the world has never had anything like him before or after, honestly. So I wanted to talk about this because this man's body of work is important, not only to literature, but just in history. I feel like he had a lot to say, and the way he said it was beautiful and interesting. So that's just me gushing about him, but that's just how I feel. I mean it. So even if you don't check out the complete works of Cummings, I do recommend reading some E.E. Cummings. This guy is fantastic. And hopefully you'll like it as much as I do. That's the great thing about poetry. Like, there's something for everybody. If you don't like one poet, you might like another poet's work. And so on and so on. There's so many different styles and writers of poetry that maybe someone else's expression matches what you're feeling. And that's the beauty of it. So anyways, that's just my long little rant about E.E. Cummings and why I love him. And why I more than highly recommend his complete poems. But that's it for now, and I should have another video soon. Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye.